I want to do one last story on the lies about weapons of mass destruction that the Bush administration gave. It's because a report has been declassified now, and now we know with exact precision how much they lied about this program. It wasn't, oops, oh, the intelligence got it wrong. I can't believe it. It's a golly gee, it's a mistake everybody could have made. No, they chose to lie about it, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. So first, you remember Colin Powell famously said at the United Nations, quote, "My colleagues, every statement I make today is backed up by sources, solid sources. These are not assertions. What we're giving you are the facts and conclusions based on solid intelligence." Well, we now know that that was not true. To be fair to Colin Powell, he might not have known how untrue it was at the time. I'm going to tell you who did know. So there was apparently a report called Iraq, Status of WMD Programs. Now, this is a very important report because it was classified earlier, now declassified. It was sent to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and to the Secretary of Defense, Don Rumsfeld. It was from the Intelligence Directorate of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. If you don't know, that is the head of our military. That's where the different branches of the military get together. The top generals in each branch look at reports like this, and obviously the Defense Secretary, and likely he would share it with others in the administration who are also in favor of the war, like Dick Cheney and Condoleezza Rice. We'll get to their statements in a second. Now, here is what Air Force Major General Glenn Schaefer said about the report to Don Rumsfeld. "We don't know with any precision how much we don't know." Well, now, wait a minute. It doesn't sound like they have all the facts. Well, let's dive in a little more. Don Rumsfeld then sends it to Air Force General Richard Myers, and he says, "Please take a look at this material as to what we don't know about WMD." He even writes, "It is big." Pay attention to this because we don't know how much chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons they have. Now, publicly, they're saying, "Oh, we know, it's fact, it's assertion, they have it, we know." In fact, you don't have to trust me. I'm going to give you their exact quotes right now. So inside the report, it says some mixed messages. On one part, they say, hey, we assess Iraq is making significant progress in WMD programs. Well, that sounds pretty good if you think that they're making weapons of mass destruction. Wait till you get a load of the rest of it and see how uncertain they really were. Let me show you what Dick Cheney said in public. At the time, he said the Iraqi regime has, in fact, been very busy enhancing its capabilities in the field of chemical and biological agents, and they continue to pursue the nuclear program they began so many years ago. And he says, quote, "Many of us are convinced that Saddam Hussein will acquire nuclear weapons fairly soon." So that is not ambiguous. Now, let us go to the reality, the report that many of the administration officials actually saw. In the report, they say, "Our knowledge of the Iraqi nuclear weapons program is based largely, perhaps 90%, on analysis of imprecise intelligence." No, they did not know, in fact. It was 90% imprecise. It's not my words, it's their words. They go on to say in the report, "Our assessments rely heavily on analytical assumptions and judgment rather than hard evidence. The evidentiary base is particularly sparse for Iraqi nuclear programs." Internally in the administration, they know the evidence is sparse for nuclear programs. Externally, Dick Cheney says, some of us know, in fact, they are busy trying to acquire nuclear weapons, and fairly soon. That is nothing but a lie. It's not a misstatement. It's not, oops, we got the intelligence wrong. The intelligence that they got said they do not have it. It is, our evidence on it is sparse, and we're 90% uncertain. They lied about it. Okay, now Condoleezza Rice in public said the first sign of a smoking gun may be a mushroom cloud. Like that they're going to nuke us, and there's going to be the mushroom cloud of the nuclear weapon that Iraq has. Here's the reality of the report. We do not know with confidence the location of any nuclear weapon-related facilities. Okay. Now, in public, George W. Bush says, Iraq possesses and produces chemical and biological weapons. It is seeking nuclear weapons. In reality, the report says, we've struggled to estimate the unknowns. We range from 0% to about 75% knowledge on various aspects of their program. That means some aspects of their program we know 0% about. But in public, there are no doubts. Cheney, Condoleezza, George Bush, they're all saying, oh, we know it. We know it. They have these programs, biological, chemical, and very likely nuclear. Now, to be fair to Bush, as you're going to see at the end here, they probably kept the evidence from him. So you got to keep it real. You got to call it as it is, okay? And I have evidence on that too. I'll get to it at the end. So now, also in the report, they say, we cannot confirm the identity of any Iraqi facilities that produce, test, fill, or store biological weapons. Now remember, they said they were more certain about the biological weapons. In reality, the internal report that goes to all the Joint Chiefs, that goes to the Defense Secretary and other members of the administration, says, we don't know where any of their facilities are. How certain could they be that they have biological or chemical weapons if they don't know any of the facilities? No, they were clearly lying about their certainty. Now, George W. Bush says in public, we know that the regime has produced thousands of tons of chemical agents, including mustard gas, sarin, nerve gas, VX nerve gas, and surveillance photos reveal that the regime is rebuilding facilities that it had used to produce chemical and biological weapons. Now, that's very specific. Let's go to the reality of the internal report the administration has. We are unable to confirm the identity of any Iraqi sites that produce, test, fill, or store biological weapons. They lied, they lied, they lied. Now, if you think it wasn't the president, well, let's find out who under the president lied to the president. See, these are significant crimes, let alone the war crimes that was committed against the Iraqi people. And even if you don't think that they are technical crimes against the American people, as far as politics is concerned and policy is concerned, though, you have to be outraged, no matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Maybe even more so if you're a Republican. They played you for a fool. They thought you were a sucker. They could just lie to you and say that they were certain that they had these things when in fact they knew that they were not certain. In fact, they didn't know where any of them were. And that's not surprising because it turns out he didn't have them. When they went to Iraq and had access to all of Iraq, here's the number of weapons of mass destruction they found. 0, because they didn't exist. And here's a report internally saying they might not exist. One more quote from the report for now. He says, they say, our knowledge of what biological weapons the Iraqis are able to produce is nearly complete. Our knowledge of how and where they are produced is nearly 90% incomplete. So theoretically, they could produce these weapons, but we are 90% uncertain as to whether they are producing them at all, how they're producing them, or where they're producing them. Did they tell us in public that they were 90% uncertain whether they had them, how they had them, or where they had them? They didn't say that. They said they were certain over and over. The report goes on to say, our overall knowledge of the Iraqi chemical weapons program is primarily limited to infrastructure doctrine. Like, maybe they could make they might have the doctrine for infrastructure of the program. It's nothing but theory. Are there actual weapons? Well, they say the specific agent and facility knowledge is 60 to 70% incomplete. What part of this sounds certain to you? They lied, they lied, they lied. They said they were certain that they had chemical and biological weapons, and they said they knew where they had them. Rumsfeld said, oh, I know where they are. They are in Tikrit. They're to the north, south, west, and east of Tikrit. Well, they weren't there, and he's the one who wrote the note saying, it is big. We don't know where they are. We're totally uncertain. He lied. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. Again, the report says, we do not know if all the processes required to produce a weapon are in place. We don't know. One more from the report. No, I've got 2 more from the report. The Iraqis lack the precursors for sustained nerve agent production, and we cannot confirm the identity of any Iraqi sites that produce final chemical agent. And how about if they were to have these things that you are telling me you have no certainty that they have? In fact, you have 90% uncertainty about whether they have them at all. Well, could they deliver them? Do they have long-range missiles? Because we were also told, oh my God, they're going to hit Israel any second now. They got long-range missiles that could definitely hit Israel. The JCS report says, we doubt all the processes are in place to produce longer-range missiles. They didn't have the weapons, and they didn't have the missiles to deliver the weapons. We got lied to anyway. Now, here's the one piece of evidence that is a little exculpatory for the president, but damning for the rest. When a Joint Staff senior member that had access to this report was asked if Don Rumsfeld shared it with the president, his quote was, "That's the last place they would have sent it." Now, so that goes to show you, fair is fair, Bush might not have gotten it. But it also goes to show you they did it on purpose. You wouldn't send it to the president because you don't want the president to know that they don't actually have the weapons. And you have no certainty at all that they have the weapons. You want to lie to the president to make sure that he goes ahead and authorizes that war that you want under any and all circumstances. It is not a matter of question anymore. There is one thing we do have certainty about. There were no weapons of mass destruction. They knew that they weren't sure that they had any weapons at all. They knew that their evidence was sparse, but they lied about it in public anyway. They lied us into Iraq. Don't let anybody tell you that it was an honest mistake. It wasn't. The whole thing was done on purpose. That's why they didn't send this damning report to the president. They knew what they were doing. They lied us into Iraq, and it turned into an epic debacle. And that is now fact, based on their own classified reports that are now public. Now we know the truth. This is the truth.